boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? He said, will you defeat them, your demons, and all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? Because one day I'll leave you a phantom to lead you in the summer to join the Black Parade.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Putting these videos on before the show started because I wanted to show, just if you think about it, I wanted to be able to show there are good things happening. I am not a New York Knicks fan, but after all of those years, after all of those challenges that have gone on for them to be able to win the championship, and the way they won it, if you watch the game, it was truly amazing. And man, what a deal. The second one with the guys flying with their motorcycles, that was at the White House. And once again, an amazing success story. You know, today is a day that we're going to look at the, I always show idiocy. I always show hate. I always show the stuff to make people understand that where we are today is not where the press says we are. And of course, the biggest example of that is what just happened in the Middle East. We've had probably the most hidden war that's ever occurred. And here's what I mean. 47 years ago, when Iran started this war, it kind of became under the covers. And that includes George W. Bush. It includes Clinton. It includes everybody that goes on for the last 47 years. It includes HW. It includes Reagan. Let's say Reagan. Yeah, Reagan. So all of these presidents didn't do anything about what was happening. Sorry about the noise. My wife's teaching a piano lesson. You can get a lesson while you're listening to this. Anyway, finally, somebody comes along and says, this has got to stop. I think it was driven somewhat by the fact that the Israelis, the attacks that they were having after Hamas had done what they did from the Gazas, the everything that's kind of been burbling up. And we got the Abraham Accords, and there were a few people signed on, but it wasn't a lot. And now here we are. I would say we've got three things to think about. One is we got the Strait opened. Two, the Iranian leadership supposedly digitally signed the agreement, which will then be wet signature on Friday. And the other one is the bad side, and that is we cannot trust these people. And I don't think there's a chance in hell that Trump doesn't know that. I mean, he knows that this is not a guarantee, that this is not okay, now everything's fine. I mean, the people that know and the people that don't know, I've mentioned this before, but when World War II ended, or as Omar said, when World War XI ended, what an idiot. She made they made the comment that all of these Japanese that were on these islands hiding in places and attacking places and people and areas, they didn't know it was over. Now, is that the same case with Iran? No, but there's a lot of people out there that don't have the electronics we've got. So will there be some problems? Maybe. Will Iran attack Israel? That would not be a smart move on Iran's part. Will Israel do something stupid? That worries me a little bit. And here's why it worries me. The problem with that is this. When you think about what Israel wants to do to protect themselves, and what the enemies of Israel that are proxies of Iran that don't care to listen to Iran because they're just warmongers, they could attack. And is Israel going to just let that happen? I don't know. I don't think so. So welcome to the show. Do me a favor. Please click on the like button. Make sure that you do everything you can just to help the show grow. We have a lot of people who watch this show after it's been live because of time zones and everything that happens. Need live viewers. That's important. So today we're covering a number of things. Obviously, what happened with Iran, we're going to go through that. Some of the hate. I've got a couple of videos with Liz Warren that is just classic hate, classic stupidity, and classic lies about what really is going on. And then some of the things, hat tip to Mazemore, which is one of my favorite X accounts. He has a ton of stuff and really some good things that he puts together. I enjoy doing that. A little bit of The View and what they did and said, and everybody on the dais kind of just kept their mouth shut and was afraid to say what they were thinking. Sonny Hostin, good example. So we'll get into that. And then, of course, some of the hate and what is the good side of America from people that aren't Americans. And then finally, the fight last night. I didn't get to see it. I think that the likelihood that this is probably one of the greatest events that's ever happened in the White House is without a question a big deal. So anyway, that, and then finally, a little opening information about a Barack Obama story that is going to continue. We'll get into that. So this weekend was Father's Day. I made a great rack of St. Louis ribs. Marie actually liked him. She's not much for the rib world. She said, "Fix something you want," because I do the cooking. And man, they came out good. I don't know if what you guys did. I hope you had a weekend and a Sunday like we did. We went through a process of no rain, sunshine, warmer, got colder. It was yesterday, I think it got up to like 55 degrees in June. Warmer in April and February this year here in Colorado than it was yesterday. But anyway, had a great time with that. So we continue to go in a step down a path of those that are telling the stories. And I think that the big one, of course, is what we've got in Seattle, what we have in New York, what we have going on up in Maine, what we have in in Detroit area, Dearborn. All of these events that are going on in our country, and the hate that's going on, and the socialism. And then you look at what's going on in Iran and what the agreements are. And I want to share a few of these agreements and what they're saying, because it's important for us to see. Watch this. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Conversation Sander and I and some others had for an hour with a senior administration official. Here are the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding from the White House's point of view. Destroy and remove nuclear material. Iran to dismantle its nuclear program. No sanctions relief until there is compliance, meaning absolutely no money up front. Keep the Strait of Hormuz open and end the funding of terrorist groups. I mean, this is completely opposite to what the Iranian media was talking about earlier today, which was just a load of horse, you know what. What do you think of what we know so far?
John, I think it's okay to be both hopeful and skeptical here because we are dealing with Iran. But I love the idea that that type of deal is performance-based. That means that Iran does not get the benefits of the deal before demonstrating significant or sufficient compliance to the deal. But I think there needs to be one important caveat, and that is that the United States reserves the right the moment we see backsliding or bad faith or trying to delay, that we can strike decisively back.
This is a really good segment here. He's making the point that I've been making. We absolutely know that we cannot trust what they say. Trust but verify is more like 10% trust, 90% verify, because this isn't going to be an easy agreement to keep. We're going to have to keep ships in the strait. We're going to have military personnel that's going to be in other countries on the other side of the strait. We'll call it on the west side of the strait, to be able to be available to go in and do whatever they have to when Iran does something stupid. Because here's what we know. You know, remember when you were a kid, high school is the testosterone bubble of America. That's when all the guys with testosterone gets crazy. The crazy ones, the true crazy ones, you know, they pick on the little guy. They're always the bullies. They're smoking cigarettes outside of the building and picking on everybody. That smoking thing, I don't think that happens anymore. But it was a problem, and that's always been the case, and it probably always will be. So, with that said, how do you deal with that? And the answer is you deal with it by being stronger being there and making red lines and say it's not going to go past that. It isn't some simple, okay, we signed the deal and it's all done. When Germany and Japan finally surrendered in the World War II, they pretty much, it stopped. We can't trust that with Iran. Iran is a whole different game. And, I sometimes worry about, and this, I'll say very positive things about Trump and about all of the people in the administration, but I'll say it when I'm concerned. And one of the concerns I have is I feel like they're believing more than they should be believing, if that makes sense. Because there's no reality in accepting the fact, now it's all good. Everybody's agreed and Iran's going to get their oil going and they'll be able to make money with that and everybody will be happy. No, they want to kill America. They still hate America. They still hate us. They're always going to hate us because that's what they are. That's what they've been for centuries. This isn't some new thing from 47 years ago. It's just that it burbled up at that point and we let it continue and get worse. So now I take a look at Trey Yangst and his comments with J.D. Vance, not with J.D. Vance, but about J.D. Vance's comments. And listen to this. We'll talk about this on the other side.
Look, what the vice president said is what we've been hearing from President Trump and the administration since day one of Operation Epic Fury. The reason that the region is here is to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon or a path to a program that would eventually allow them to create one or purchase one on the black market, for example. And this deal, according to the vice president, he says does that. And so the two key objectives that the Trump administration wanted to reach, the vice president says they've reached: opening the Strait of Hormuz and ensuring that the Iranians are not going to have a path to a nuclear weapon. Again, when we step back here and we look at the damage caused to the Iranian regime, this is also significant because Iran's ballistic missile program threatened U.S. forces and allies across the Middle East. We saw that during the 40 days of Operation Epic Fury. And the fact that the United States and Israel took out many of the production lines belonging to the Iranians that created these ballistic missiles and these drones that were threatening allies and U.S. forces in the region, it makes the regime weaker. And it also gives the United States and Israel still the over-the-horizon capabilities.
So this is the positive stuff, right? I mean, you can't deny that. These are the positives that we're looking at right now with Iran. I mean, we're literally a day into this. Now we've got to get past this process, get to Friday, sign the agreement, which if you listen to what the Iranian leaders are saying, we're not giving up our nuclear deal. We're not going to do this, not going to do that. I think eventually we're going to end up in a spot where we're going to have to make a decision. Do we melt these guys? I mean, that's a high probability. And if it happens, it happens. But we can't just let it continue. It's dangerous. The stronger they get, the more weapons they get, the more uranium that becomes enriched, the more Europe is in trouble because they can attack Europe way before they can attack us. And if they try to attack us, it's because they'll have additional missiles. And we can't give them pallets of money, which has happened in the past. So I'm not going to drag this out because, in my opinion, other than the things that are going to leak over this week, we're not going to know anything until Friday. Do they actually come together? I think it's in Switzerland. Are they going to come together and sign the agreements and walk away somewhat with a handshake? I don't know. I really don't. In fact, I'm a little bit negative on it because I don't think we can take our eye off the ball. I don't think Trump will or his people, but we have to stay on this. We must. All right. So Liz Warren, my favorite Indian, she's we know she's full of hate. Everybody knows hate is her main game. She is always full of hate. She always will be full of hate, and she can't stand it that people have more money than she does. If you think she's talking about, when she talks about millionaire, billionaire, and trillionaire and how it's not right, she's not saying it's not right for you and me. She's saying it's not right that they've got more money than she has. And this idiot is the grand example of why the Democrat Party's in trouble as it is. So with that said, take a look at this. This is, well, first of all, this is Liz Warren talking about the rich, and it's not right, and they're not paying their fair share. They're not paying their taxes. Now, while you're watching it, pay attention over her right side, which is the window outside of the car she's in. She's in a limo. She's in the back seat being driven someplace when she makes this video. So, I don't know about you, but I don't have a limo picking me up when I'm going someplace. And you probably don't either. But she can't stand it that anybody's got money except for her. That's really what's happening here.
Elon Musk is officially the world's first trillionaire. Think about that. We're living at a time when more and more people are just hanging on by their fingernails to survive in this economy. And Elon Musk has more money and more wealth than anyone in human history. I want to be clear. This is not just some fluke. It is a feature of a rigged economy. Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill cut healthcare for millions of Americans to give guys like Elon bigger tax breaks. The tax code rewards CEOs for firing workers and replacing them with AI. Loopholes have allowed Jeff Bezos to pay an effective tax rate lower than a Boston public school teacher. And we are left with a country where a handful of billionaires at the top pop champagne in their $300 million yachts, while working people take on even more shifts to try to pay off their student loan debt. The top 1% of U.S. earners now have more wealth than the entire middle class. We need to overhaul our tax code. We need a wealth tax. And it's about time that corporations paid their fair share. Today's marker should be a wake-up call that enough is enough. Time to make change.
Time to make change. We have to make change. All right, Liz. First of all, let's go back to George Washington days. He was a millionaire. They think today's money, somewhere between $60 and $80 million. Now, that's a lot of money. FDR was worth a few $100 million. Democrat. There's other people that are wealthy. Now, I don't have a problem with you being wealthy. If you create something and it turns out good, everybody said that Bezos was never going to make it with Amazon. He's selling books. That's how Amazon started. It was a bookstore. And now, I just ordered something just before the show started. It's going to be here between 2 and 5 today. And it was in stock and it was available. And that's why he's a billionaire. Because he found the magic box. He made something that became amazingly successful. And why would you hate him for that? Why would you say he's not paying enough taxes? Why would you say it's got to be stopped? We've got to change things. We've got to have a wealth tax. We've got to have this and that. Well, why? Because you can't stand it that he's got money? And, that's what I was going to do. If you take a look at, and this, if you've got $1 billion, okay, just $1 billion, I'm going to put it in my calculator. There's $1 billion. I'm going to divide that by 330 million. That's $3,030 per person for $1 billion if you give it to everybody, if you split it out. So he's a trillionaire. So take that times 10. Okay. So you could have $30,000 per person. And then what? Exactly where do we go from there? So you've destroyed him. He doesn't have any money. He's the guy that's employing thousands of people. That goes down the tube. Or do you want the government to pay for it, to keep it going? God save us for that. So you just can't keep running down this line of saying, we can't have this. This isn't right. It has to stop. We have to make a change. And Elon Musk doesn't pay taxes. I have proof of that. I have definite proof of that because, well, Elizabeth Warren says so.
The world's richest freeloader evidently has a very thin skin. But you know the part that really makes me angry about this? It's on behalf of every public school teacher, every waitress, every computer programmer, every street cleaner who actually paid taxes. And that means they paid more than Elon Musk did. When these guys not only get to rake it all in, but then rub everybody else's nose in it while they head off into outer space and declare how they did this all on their own when they were subsidized by the federal government and subsidized by every waitress and by every public school teacher who paid their taxes. This is wrong. And Elon Musk needs to eat a big dish of that.
He's a freeloader, and he doesn't pay his fair share of taxes. And it has been announced this morning that he will pay $11 billion in taxes.
That just seems like a really big contribution
Isn't that
to
a big
me.
number?
Good for him, is what I say. Look, Elizabeth Warren's whole diatribe about how the rich don't pay their fair share, we all know it's wrong. We know that the top 1% pays 40% of taxes. I don't know how many times you can keep saying these things. Elizabeth Warren doesn't care. It's her line. It's not true. It's a major falsehood, and it drives so much discontent in this country and so much partisanship. I think it's really a shame. But on this one, man, does she look like a loser?
Well, that was about a few years ago. He paid $11 billion in taxes. That's the guy that Liz Warren claimed he's not paying taxes. And just so you understand, and she understands because she uses every loophole on the planet for her millions of dollars that she has. When you have a business, and we'll make it simple, you make $100, okay? The tax code says that for R&D, for reinvestment into your business, you can deduct that from your gross $100. So if you make $100 and then you go and spend $100, you don't pay any taxes. And actually, if you make $32, you probably don't pay taxes because you've reinvested your money. It's the same concept as unrealized income. When you have a profit, you have to pay taxes on that. When you do R&D and you build buildings and you add more employees, you've created a cut into that income, which means you only pay on the difference. I don't know why I have to explain this, but people don't get it. That's why corporations a lot of times don't pay taxes. You look at General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, all of the companies that are in the United States that pay taxes in the U.S., Honda, all of those companies. They pay huge taxes. Now, when they decide we're going to build a new building, we're going to set up a new facility in another state, we're going to create whatever new business venture that they're putting on, they're spending the money that they made, and they don't have to pay taxes on that because they didn't realize a true income from it. That's pretty simple. Now, if you make $1 billion and you don't spend anything on it, well, guess what? You're going to spend tons of millions rather, in taxes. And somebody like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, anybody, Donald Trump, Trump is supposedly worth about 6.5 million. Well, so this jealousy, I looked this up. FDR was worth $60 to $80 million in today's money. That's their hero, the Democrat. Now, you didn't hear him hollering, we need to have a wealth tax, did we? And were there any Democrats who were saying he has to pay that? Most estimates put him at 60, but some say 80. He came from, but this is the interesting part. He being FDR, came from old money. He inherited family wealth from the Roosevelts and the Delanos and lived comfortably, but he didn't build a huge fortune himself. Was there anybody back then that was saying, oh my God, he's got all this money. You can't earn that kind of money. He spent most of his adult life in public service rather than chasing business deals. Now, Nancy Pelosi did that too, and she's worth a few $100 million. So the top 1%, that's correct. I put into the Grok AI. So do the top 1% steal all their money? Do they steal the money? The answer is no, the top 1% didn't steal their money. Most of their wealth comes from building businesses, owning stocks that grew in value, and high earnings from skills in tech, finance, medicine, and entrepreneurship. Studies show 70% of U.S. billionaires and a big chunk of the top 1% are largely self-made, not inherited. Some benefit from cronyism, monopolies, or lucky breaks, Hunter Biden, and inequities grown. But calling it stealing ignores how value gets created in a market economy. It's more nuanced than that. Thank you, Grok. Good job. I knew that. But you need to understand, if you get I got lucky one time with a business, and that's pretty much everybody. You get lucky once, and hopefully you make it, and you're good. I've started businesses and failed. You have an idea, you want to create something, you start it up, and there's a point where it either really the public didn't want it, or it became so expensive to keep it going that you didn't have enough cash to be able to build it or the financing to do it. Those kind of things happen to people every day as an entrepreneur. So, come on, Liz. It isn't that easy. But they have to make fun of Elon Musk because he's not smart and he's a bad person. Watch this. This again, Maze Moore. He put this together, and I love it.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed.
Being a freeloader and a selfish and disrespectful one, and for misappropriating Black vernacular for misogynistic purposes, Elon Musk is the absolute worst.
The world's richest freeloader evidently has a very thin skin.
Elon Musk kind of turned out to be and I don't want to be driving the car built and designed by
Elon Musk is incompetent. He's incompetent. He's a thief. He's a Nazi.
Musk is a pathological liar. He's a criminal. He's a sociopath and a ghoul.
Cannot say that someone like Elon Musk is an intellectual. Really what he's up to is, snorting ketamine and tweeting at all hours of the day and night.
The guy's a joke, right? He really is a joke. The more I hear him talk, I'm astonished at how dumb Elon Musk is. But look at what he did with SpaceX and Starlink and all these companies. He's got to be somewhat intelligent. The more I hear him talk, the more I'm like, holy fucking shit. This dude tripped over his dick and became successful.
Yeah, there you are. Okay, sorry about the language. The hate They don't even get it. First of all, I grew up knowing a man because my dad worked with him. The man, this is a true story, that actually invented television. Okay? Philo Farnsworth, by the way, was his name. He invented television. He designed television before radio existed. He finally put the money together when he was 22 to make the first television test broadcast. That was after radio had started, but he put that together. This guy could barely communicate. He was he was just like Elon Musk. His conversation would travel. He'd be talking about something, and all of a sudden he'd be on something else. He would take the bus home from where my dad and he worked, and he would call because he couldn't find his car, and he'd say, "Hey, Wayne," my dad's name was Wayne. "Wayne, is my car out in the parking lot?" I swear to God, these are true stories. He would drive to work, and somebody would realize his car was sitting out in the parking lot running because he forgot to shut it off. And he locked the doors, and they had extra keys and took care of him. This is a man that was a genius, a true, complete, absolute genius. And they don't understand. They kept talking about, he's stupid. He sounds stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's this and that. First of all, he's a tortured soul. All geniuses are tortured. I am not tortured. But geniuses, true, 160 and above, way above 160s, these people are channeled. They have a channel that kind of moves a little bit here and there. My dad worked for a company called IT&T in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And another one of his buddies that he worked with invented night vision for the military. I mean, all of these guys, my dad had some inventions also. My dad was not, I wouldn't say a genius, but he was brilliant. And he invented things that nobody had a solution for. And all of those kind of people, I'm clearly a child from the postman and not my dad. Can't possibly be. But the point is that they make fun of this guy because he is not a smooth talking individual. But look what he's done. He took a spaceship into space, and he brings the fuel system back and lands it in the cup holder, as I call it. He's done amazing things. And for somebody to say, I'm not going to drive a Tesla because of what Elon Musk has become, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. So, how do we get these people to understand? Forget about it. They're not going to understand, and they're not going to care. Now, there was a little crack in the armor the other day on The View where we had some common sense. We'll talk about this on the other side, but watch this. But more importantly, watch Sunny Hostin as she was sitting at the dais, and you could tell she wanted to scream, just angry. But listen to what's said also. So watch this.
When you've shown me you have so much hate in your heart that you can literally wipe off full groups of people, and you name it, fill in the blank he has, that Nazi tattoo that he supposedly has covered up and said he didn't know what it meant, but many ex-girlfriends said he used to proudly call it what it is, a totem cough, which is a Nazi symbol. Yeah. He has shown us who he is. There is no way in my life I could sleep at night turning my face to all of that. And I don't know who can. I wish some of the Democrats would stand up. This was the party of Me Too. Women have made accusations. They have not been proven yet. But weren't we supposed to listen and hear them? Literally, we were in a time of anti-Semitism, the numbers of anti-Semitic hate. And this guy proudly wore a tattoo for years. All the things he's shown us. And we're going to say, well, this time, because we might agree with this policy, we can turn our heads. I cannot turn my head. I hope other people would join me in that.
And he also mocked wounded veterans. He has a bunch of homophobic slurs that have emerged online. This is a guy who is a racist as well. The track record is really bad. And I have to mention, I know his accuser. I've known her for over a decade, who spoke to the New York Times. I believe her. I believe it's very credible what she's accused him of. He denies it.
This is just a little example of these people that's on The View. There's a few of them that are going, they're starting to realize that all of these things that's been said, all of the things that's been claimed, all of the hate is unbelievable. And these people that, as an example, for the UFC fight last night, and the vitriol of the shame of the White House having something like that out in the yard. It's just hate. You want to see real losing their mind hate? Watch this video of this guy. It's just craziness.
I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care if you're right or left. I don't care about any of that shit. If you think anything about this is cool or American or manly, I have to assume that much like anybody associated with the planning and the production of this event, all of the sponsors of this event, matter of fact, anybody that's even remotely associated with this event, much like all of them, you are so slow I could time you with a fucking calendar. Nothing about this is cool. Well, you just don't like it because you're a liberal, and liberal men aren't masculine. Listen here, shitbag. I lift every day. I've done boxing and jiu-jitsu on and off for years, and I used to watch the UFC pretty religiously until I realized that 90% of the fighters and a good chunk of the fans are racist, rapists, woman beaters, or right-wing shitbags. So then I stopped.
Yeah, you stopped. And you know what? This guy that did jiu-jitsu and he did boxing and he brags about all that stuff, he got his ass kicked. I promise you on that. But listen to that. Just because there's an event going in Washington, D.C. at the White House that is bringing people together. One of the biggest television events, not the Washington event, but UFC fighting, has a massive audience. And it's not just a bunch of hillbillies with no teeth. That's the crazy part of this. They're in such a bubble. They're full of so much hate that they just can't get it together. And so it goes on that they do these things. And it's these people are embarrassing America by doing the UFC thing and the things that Trump does, because the Democrats are actual normal Americans. Yes, they are. And there's an example. There's some of your friends. This guy, this wacko. Oh, here's one here on the top right. Yeah. Oh, how about the one covering up with the make-believe bra on? And how about the guy on the desk with the, they had to put a blackout on there. And this other guy do I have to say more? I mean, look at all of this. This is literally what I'm talking about, that they are just so crazy about what Trump's doing. And yet these are the people that are out there, and it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. So where do you go from there? Well, how do we fix this? We need great Americans to fix this problem. And, successful people that have been able to, be successful in their life, appreciate what they have, maybe made millions of dollars, love America for what the opportunity's been. And yet you got this guy, De Niro, and his hate. And I'm going to show you a video after this that just tells the true story. Watch this moron.
The phrase, "we all love our country," stuck in my throat because our country isn't so lovable right now. I hate to say it, but loving our country is starting to sound like an abused spouse saying they love their abuser. I can't love a country that's led by a racist, misogynist, xenophobic tyrant. And let me just say it. I can't love the country that's led by Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, you can't. I get it. Can't love a country like that because we're so awful. There's nothing said about where we were when we had Joe Biden doing nothing, or where we had Barack Obama giving pallets of billions of dollars to Iran to try to buy their love. Can't talk about that because it's just Donald Trump. We hate him. That hate filters out to so many people in this country. These people that are always completely whacked out and they just keep getting fed this kind of stuff. And then you get a different scenario or different experience. And that is, we've got the World Soccer competition that's going on, Canada, Mexico, United States right now. Big deal. I mean, probably will be more viewers in this, 78 different events, number of cities around the North America. And these people that are coming in are people that have never been to the United States. So they don't know anything. They don't know what America's about. They don't know what it's been, what it is. They don't know. And so they get here and they're stunned. This is a number of different country people from different countries, people that are recognizing how great it is in the United States. Watch this.
The city is just so welcoming. The people are amazing. I'm Elena Condi, journalist from Cadena Cope, radio station from Spain. I'm excited to be here in Chattanooga. It's very cozy, it's very nice, very beautiful, and the people, they are really nice, really beautiful. They embrace you, so I think that I'm gonna come back to Chattanooga after this World Cup.
My name is Leonardo from Brazil. People in Chattanooga are they're awesome. They are cute, they are, how can I say, friendly, and we've been loving it. It's been awesome.
First of all, the campus is absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a school like this. I feel in Hogwarts, like Harry Potter. It's absolutely beautiful.
Transform all this into Baylor School for the training session is amazing. Not every country in the world could do that.
But also to work and do our jobs every day, and it's so easy to do it in Chattanooga. The shuttles are super comfortable for us. We have only to go out of our hotel and we can be here in 10 minutes. That's impossible in other places. And it's been only 3 days here in Chattanooga, but I can feel like it's my place in the States, I feel like in home.
Feels like home. Wow. I didn't think that it would be possible that it could be that positive. But it is. And it's that positive for one simple reason. When the people that come to this country realize that, number one, it's a beautiful country, and that doesn't mean every other part of the world isn't beautiful. There's beautiful spots any place you go in the world. But there's a different feel. You realize, probably think about it. I think probably the most wonderful place I've been, not as great as America, but wonderful, is Ireland. It's wonderful people, beautiful country, pretty much freedom to do what you want. If you're, when we were there last time, it was the separation between Northern Ireland and the Republic was really shaky. But that's a process of them figuring their problem out. But what a great country. And these people from Spain, these people from Italy, these people that are coming here from all over the world are saying, wow, this is amazing. The comment he made, we went from spot 1 to spot 2 and in like 10 minutes. You can't do that where I'm from. That's really what has, for all intents and purposes, made the biggest difference. So you would think to yourself, well, maybe things are going to turn around. Maybe people will realize it. It's the opposite on the Democrat side. It's the opposite. And here's what I'm saying. Right now, there's two specific politicians that should be absolutely locked in on the Democrat Party for re-election. But they're not, because there's even more liberal people that are running for office that's going to knock them out. Look at this story. From Wasserman Schultz to Goldman, Goldman's from New York, Democratic incumbents are fighting for survival. As Democrats seek to reclaim power in November midterm elections, some of the party's longstanding progressives are in danger of losing their seats. That's like, really? Dan Goldman from New York, a prominent Trump foe who served as Democrats' lead counsel during President Donald Trump's first impeachment trial, he was obnoxious as hell, is running as an endangered incumbent in a Democratic-heavy district spanning lower Manhattan and deep blue pockets of Brooklyn. Former New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, 56, who has the backing of Mamdani and leading progressives in Congress, is mounting an insurgent campaign from Goldman's left. Leading progressive senators Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and the left-wing Working Families Party are also supporting his candidacy. Think about this. This guy, don't get me wrong, I don't like Dan Goldman, but they've got a guy that's even more liberal than him that's coming in. Well, Wasserman Schultz is gearing up for a tough re-election after Republicans carved out her deep blue seat during redistricting early this year. The 11-term incumbent sparked controversy after filing to run in a plurality black district that has been represented by black lawmakers for more than 3 decades. She's expected to face 4 black opponents ahead of the August primary, including former Rep. Sheila Surface McCormick from Florida, who's making a long shot run for the seat after resigning amid an expulsion threat earlier this year. Now, they've redrawn, and because Debbie Wasserman Schultz doesn't have her little bucket of liberals, blacks and even more liberals are possibly going to knock her out of the picture. McCormick is facing pending federal criminal indictments over alleged financial crimes that could result in more than 50 years in prison if convicted. While the 4 black candidates have reportedly met to discuss unifying behind one individual to take Wasserman Schultz on, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has thus far declined to bail her out. Think about that. So, of course, Hakeem Jeffries is as liberal as you think he is. He's way worse. And if we lose the House, that's the guy that's going to be in charge, most likely. I mean, it'll be a vote, maybe, but high probability that he'll be put in charge. So these candidates that would be lock-ins because of where they are, the voters that they have, the district that's always been there for them, they're in trouble. And it's from the left. It's not like some moderate that's hurting them. It's from the left. All right, my last story. I got to leave a little early today for an appointment. My last story is really a picture of all of the folks that have always said Trump's a bad guy. He doesn't pay his bills. You know, he's a liar. He's a cheat. He's a thief. And then this story comes out. Barack Obama, as you may know, is building his library in Chicago. He's been building it for years. It's nowhere near done. It's in terrible financial shape. They've only raised like $100 million or something, and they've spent all that. It's a mess. But this story is about one particular guy. He's a plumber. He's been working on this building. He has spent $4 million doing the plumbing for that building. And the rules and regulations of Chicago has created a nightmare for him. And he's not getting paid. And he's going to go out of business, possibly, because of what's going on. Watch this, gentleman, and just let this soak in.
Mismanagement here that's been saddled to the like an aluminum can that's been thrown in front of a steamroller. We're crushed. Just on our internals, the overall monies expended on this project have now reached nearly $4 million in the red. That's in totality over the last 5 years. That is a hole that no subcontractor, small business can survive. And unfortunately, my losses are on the smaller side compared to some of my peers. I think the goal at one point was to break even. Now it's just to survive. Financially, our reserves have been completely drained. We are barely getting by right now. Unfortunately, we're probably going to have to lay off union workers here in the short term so that we can regroup and lick our wounds and hopefully live to fight another day. That's where we're at. I believe my peers, just through internal conversations with them, are deeper in the red. I think also my peers have a little bit more pressure on them to maybe keep things more in-house, and I completely understand that. But as for me and my company, I'm at the end of my rope.
I feel sorry for this guy. This is exactly what they've done in Chicago for this building, for all of these workers. And they've been building this forever. It's a great big tube, probably because they couldn't get any more land. But you think to yourself, it may never get finished. And how many people will not get paid? And it's not because they're not doing good work. It's because they don't have the funds to finish this project, because it wasn't planned properly, because it didn't get done. Man, that's a fast start for a Monday morning. There's a lot going on, and we've got a lot coming up this week. There's more than just the Iran thing, but we're going to be following Iran and a lot of the other campaigns and people that are doing crazy things and the good things that are happening as we go along and through the day. I will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Hope you have an awesome day. And until tomorrow, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.